Costa Rica as well as Costa Rican business style. And so we will be listening to him. And since I showed some videos about Costa Rica right before he arrived, so you have already some opinion about Costa Rica. So hopefully you will have good questions to him. So I'll just leave it to our ambassador, Mr. Gustavo will be here. Gustavo Campos Falas will be here, and his assistant, Mr. Roberto. Thank you.
Dear colleges, dear students, welcome to our panel. Today we have a special guest from Costa Rica. He is the ambassador of Costa Rica, and I will give you some information first of all about their country, and then I will give some information about ambassador. Then we will listen his presentation. Actually, before his presentation, we will see a video about his country. Today, the discussion about our panel, we will talk about Costa Rica unknown possibilities, innovative opportunities. Today, we will discuss together. And I will give you some information. Sorry. My name is Ihsan Erdem Kayral. I have been working in this university in International Trade and Finance Department as Associate Professor. And I will give you some information about dear ambassador. First of all, I would like to thank you to attend and accept to here. We are very happy and we are very exciting to host you. And when we look at his studies, actually he studied for different countries, including Argentina, Switzerland, US, Netherlands, and in the same time, when we look at his studies also, he wrote to many different papers, and he worked as a delegate for different countries and different activities, including in Turkey. I saw especially after 2018, you started as an ambassador in Turkey. And when I look your academics, actually you wrote some papers, and I think you gave some lectures about your knowledge, about your past studies. And eventually you worked both internal and foreign positions. You started in your own country as different positions, including embassy activities, and then you worked for Netherlands. I mean, you worked for your own country, but in Netherlands, Argentina, Switzerland, and eventually, since 2018, you are the ambassador of your country, I mean Costa Rica, in Turkey, in Ankara, and you, especially your latest, I mean, delegates in Turkey, you attended too many activities to represent your country. And actually, last week, we hosted Panama ambassador, and your country actually one of the neighbor of Panama, and you are in Central America as a position, I mean your country. And when I looked your country, actually you don't have an army. You are a safe and very interesting country. When I checked your country, you have very important possibilities for investors, and we are very exciting to host you. And now we will start with your video. and then we will listen your presentation. Thank you again, and we will start. Thank you.
Someone defines themselves when they reconnect with their spirit, their true essence, the nature that shapes. Someone defines themselves when they reconnect with their spirit, their true essence, the nature that shapes who you are. Who am I? I am an alluring concentration of beauty, rainforests, beaches, and biodiversity. I live in the heart of the Americas, guarded by 2 seas. I am the deep green that entices those seeking relaxation and adventure. And I am so much more. In my essence live the warmth and authenticity of my people. People with open arms who look forward towards the future and welcome opportunities. I am a unique, happy, and caring nation that expresses itself through the diversity of its cultures. I am cradle of human talent, proud people who embrace challenges. I am a nation governed in peace with a solid, long-standing democracy. I stand behind health, education, and the pursuit of self-development as the cornerstones of happiness. In my essence lie the preservation and care for the environment, a model to the world. I breathe the riches of my land, and I recognize the wit of my people, ever capable of giving more than expected. I am a trustworthy and reliable nation, distinguished by the value of what I create. Human development, innovation, and a proven international competitiveness set me apart and enable me to export quality to the world. Those who come to know me are surprised, amazed. My greatest aspirations can be found in my concentrated essence. I am a country that attracts those who seek the value of excellence and the commitment to sustainability. I have much to offer those wishing to purchase, invest, produce, and develop. I have the required human and technological capabilities to achieve this. I rediscover myself by searching within. I find myself in what is vital, in what is true. I rediscover what is important. I am green. I am happiness. I am solidarity. I am talent. I am innovation. I am quality. I am diversity. I am concentration. I am essential Costa Rica.
Okay, thank you for this video, and we will listen your presentation. If you want to, I can open it. Okay, we will listen the ambassador of Costa Rica. Yes, thank you.
I think it's better to put the lights a little bit down, dimmed out. The lights, because you can appreciate better the presentation. No, decrease the lights. No, decrease. Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for your presence here. As you see, Costa Rica, the only part I didn't see is the football, but we had some good and bad matches during this World Cup. So, But the most important is that Costa Rica have been playing football in the last World Cups, and we try to be permanent part of this important sport, which attracts millions of people. We are here to talk about a little bit some of the characteristics of Costa Rica, as you probably noticed in the video we already saw. I want to express my gratitude for this invitation and for the rector of the university, and thank you again for your attention. I will try to summarize as much as possible this presentation, because the presentation is a little bit long and has different aspects, because Costa Rica is a little bit special country, let's say. So to understand Costa Rica, it's important to go straight on to the why is Costa Rica that's so special, as you saw in the video. Those are the first 5 lines you can read about what is the foreign policy of Costa Rica. Costa Rica look at the defense, democracy, territorial integrity, national sovereignty. Also the promotion and respect to human rights and fundamental freedoms. The promotion of peace, disarmament, and national, regional, and world security, and the strengthening of international law and development of effective multilateralism. And we will see why we need the multilateralism and why it's so important to Costa Rica. And the promotion of sustainable development and political coordinations and representations in international environmental negotiations. Those are the 5 pillars, our foreign policy. Costa Rica look at the world taking account these 5 pillars. And the most important is these 5 pillars are interconnected and also reflects the internal policy, because the foreign policy of the country is the reflex of the internal policy. What you try to achieve in your country, you try to reflect it in the world. The water is very important in my country. Why is very important? Because 99% of the energy in Costa Rica is produced by renewable sources. 97% is water, and the rest is aeolic, geothermal, and solar. And we use only 1% or 2% of carbon sources, even though we are struggling to trying to be carbon zero emissions in a decarbonized economy for 2030, the first part, and 2050, the second part, becoming one of the first countries in the world to have this kind of decarbonized economy. Costa Rica took some very important initiatives to create a very specialized country and with a huge diversity, responding to this foreign policy. One of the most important initiatives was taken since the foundation of the Republic in 1821, 201 years ago. Costa Rica is the second Latin America country in democracy and standards of living. And also, we have a very peaceful independence from Spain in 1821. Costa Rica abolished the army and the foundation of the Second Republic in 1948. And this is one of the most important pillars we have, because the income of the education came from the abolition of the army. We use the budget that being used normally in armed forces. We use it in education. That's why we are trying to create a country well educated and to try to establish a very different way to create an economy. An economy which is decarbonized, but at the same time, economy based on knowledge. Also, from the 1970s and 1970, we created a system of national parks. We protect more than 25% of our forestry. Those areas are untouchable and represent and are organized in different national parks. So that's why Costa Rica can account with a lot of hydro potential forces as an energy source. Also, reforestation is very important because Costa Rica is the most reforested country in the world, because we have 56% of the country, more than a half part of the country, in 50,000 square kilometers, which is the size of Belgium, a little bit bigger than Belgium. And we receive more, fundings for preserve the nature. 2 years ago, we had reached agreements for $135 million only to preserve the nature from different foundations and international organizations. Another initiative is we taxed the vehicles force with what we call green tax. This green tax is used to pay for those who have forests or owners, a private sector owners of forests and green areas. The government pay them to protect these areas, and we take the money from those who are using normal vehicles in order to reduce the use of normal petrol oil cars and try to jump up to electric and solar cars, and also to use this funding for mitigation, the greenhouse gases, protection of the water resources, because water is very important for us, biodiversity protection. Costa Rica has the 6% of the biodiversity of the world. We have more butterflies than the entire continent, like in Africa, for instance. And also we have created an industry based in the protection of the insects, because we have a huge different kind of insects, and we use it for medicines and for science research. And protection of the natural landscapes, especially for tourism, because Costa Rica is pioneer in ecotourism. We have cut the big hotel change, because in Costa Rica, the hotels cannot be taller than 14 meters. What that means, we only can have 2 floors and are into the nature. And so we protect them, and we follow all the companies. We are connected with the all touristic industry. That's why the point 6, ecotourism as a sustainable economy and no chimney industry. What is no chimney industry? Well, the developed countries, especially in Europe, they had their own economy based in an industrial revolution. Costa Rica now is in the industry where we are not producing more contaminations. We want to produce knowledge. We have to produce technology. And that's why we are so interested to develop in that way. So you can see in this diagram, how is national domestic priorities, policies, and what is the foreign policy. In Costa Rica, all the 5, 6 elements are connected. And that's why we call holistic approach to the internal policy. We have sustainable development, we have democracy, we have human rights, rule of law, domestic security and peace, and science and technology. In Costa Rica, we don't conceive any of these parts separate from another. We cannot have sustainable development if we don't have democracy. And we don't have democracy if we don't have human rights. Hello. Human rights. Domestic security and peace are based in disarmament. And the protection of the country is based in international multilateral organizations to guarantee us whatever military conflict that we can have. So in the foreign policy, our embassies around the world and our presence in the international organizations are to preserve these 6 elements, but reflected in the different countries and organizations where we have embassy and representation.
So the defense, democracy, territorial integrity, and national sovereignty are well connected with all these foreign policies: promotion, protection, and respect of human rights, promotion of peace, strength international law, development and effective multilateralism, and promotion sustainable development representation in international environmental negotiations. So promotion, disarmament, and national security. So we had a problem in 2011. We were invaded with one of our neighbors, and Costa Rica had no army. So we went to the regional multilateral organizations and International Court of Justice in The Hague, Netherlands, to present our 4 cases to protect our sovereignty. And we won. We won the 4 cases in a row. So United Nations guaranteed at that time there is sovereignty and untouchable territory of the country. But we do that because we guarantee to the world that we are not promoting nuclear weapons. For instance, Costa Rica is the leader country in the world who had the presidency of the Geneva Convention to ban the nuclear weapon production and also the small weaponry or small arms or small arms that can be used in places that will not the democracy will not be protected. Costa Rica has signed and have also give the force, the driving force to create this other treaty, which is prevent that those countries who are going to buy weapons to threat democracy or human rights will be avoided and prohibited. So this is our compromise with disarmament and environment. So we were going more into the technical things. We're trying to minimize the risk and obtain a true competitive advantage, select cooperative exchanges and triangulate them, and increase the ability to select types of cooperation and innovation projects to undertake the harness their power to not only create competitive advantage, but also for the sustainable competitive advantage. So we are connected cooperation and innovation with sustainability. If you invest in Costa Rica, if you create a company in Costa Rica, this company has to fulfill all the requirements to be completely sustainable. Country, globally and regionally indicators and business sophistications have created our driving force to achieve that. In addition to create hydrogen technologies to reduce the transportation of pollution, one of the flagship projects in Costa Rica is the revolutionary invention of to take a rocket Mars in 39 days using a plasma engine. Also, we are developing a space radar with unprecedented capacity to track satellite active objects, which risk an orbital debris up to 2 centimeters. So we are trying to keep the space also clean apart the planet. And we are #1 medical technology companies in the world, thus biomedical engineers in Costa Rica, through the manufacture of components of the spinal implants addressing management of scoliosis, pain, and restoring health, among the many other activities. That's why Costa Rica #1 export products is medical devices. Everybody think that we are #1 exporter of pineapples, maybe of coffee, which is Costa Rica is one of the #1 countries exporting those products. But the most important is technology and knowledge. So there is 2 areas I want to share with you. I will try to not be too long, and then we can exchange questions and or your comments. And we'll separate this presentation. And what is cooperation? Cooperation is important because we are looking to create these ties of cooperation with different universities and knowledge centers. And we are organized the cooperation initiative in these different, let's say, ways to cooperate by agreements, by commissions, natural incentives, and high-level political meetings. So the priorities are in light blue: direct foreign investment, circular economy, decarbonization, laboratories and green hubs, biodiversity in the oceans, and sustainable cities, and opportunities to cooperate as a offer and articulation with universities and other strategic partners. So these three main points are what we're looking at for, as a cooperation. Concentration of cooperation in few sources, both bilateral and multilateral scenarios, are very important, and we want to extend the capacity for cooperation. For instance, we have some advancing with implementation process to 2030 agenda with the development goals, and that was to work to the agenda centered in principles of human rights, equity, and sustainability. And also Costa Rica is a part of the OECD member, like Turkey, and that's why we share some values in a world economy. And in this context, Costa Rica is likely to obtain cooperations so far because we become a middle income country. So we need to create new forms of cooperation. One of the characteristics of our cooperation in Costa Rica is that Costa Rica prioritizes its demand for cooperation in high impact projects, specifically aiming at achieving specific objectives. Also, it has established a prioritized agenda of issues that have an impact in the country development. And also is committed with cooperation modalities in South-South and triangular cooperation, and also promotes the implementation and decentralized and multi-stakeholder cooperation based in the strategic alliances and development. So, bet on the role of the fourth sector through the development, the public and private alliances for the creation of common agendas. So the most important point in cooperation is to create ties between the public sector and the private sector. And as we understand, this university is committed to work together with private companies and the knowledge. There are many strengths and opportunities in international cooperation with Costa Rica, and we are working with different public institutions. I want to jump up over this because I don't want to tire you down with too much information. But another which is important is the triangular cooperation. Triangular cooperation is when you have a partner offering partner, when you have a third partner receiving partner, and we have a second partner providing technical and financial support. So we are creating different ways to cooperate. When Costa Rica gives as a second partner to provide technical and financial support, or in other cases, in some areas, we look at countries like Turkey, but also many others like the United States, Europe, to also finance this triangular cooperation. So this international cooperation is essential to maintain our space for peace purpose. Costa Rica reiterates its commitment and in this sense to promote new collaboration and facilitate corresponding activities in the sector of space and peaceful maintenance. So the philosophy of our space program, for instance, with the Technological Institute, is based on the commitments of the Sustainable Development Goals. So cooperation, achieve high impact goals, use the competitive advantage of Costa Rica, and be a service of the country as Sustainable Development Goals, and also a world-class laboratory, not a follower. So, for instance, we have developed the LEO Labs radar in Guanacaste province to seek track debris, as I mentioned before, to protect the network and satellites. Also, Costa Rica leads space projects to search for life conditions on Saturn's moon. And we have the Project GWSat, which is a small satellite, which is possible to observe and change the poles, oceans, forests, and any other ecosystems. Possible areas to cooperate projects in Costa Rica. We have alternative energies, space technologies, space telecommunication, to space robotics, application to biotechnology, biodiversity of the sector, space exploration, Earth observation, aerospace application, nanotechnologies, materials, and climate change products to support it. Now we are be more focused on innovation. One of the most important elements in Costa Rica is the potential of human capital and necessary conditions for getting the most out of the country, technological coverage. And it is important because, as I mentioned, if Costa Rica put attention and the knowledge first, in the planet and sustainability, and the peaceful policies which are used to budget, not to waste in weaponry, but in knowledge. So we've been created a very special zone. We are being called like Silicon Valley of Latin America because we produce, our focus is produce intelligent things and try to let behind the normal industries. So those are that's essential things that we look as you had the chance to saw in the video. Capabilities are counting like innovation, critical thinking, soft skills, customer centricity, and resilience. And exponential technologies like a technology design, lifelong learning, diversity, inclusion, and creativity. And growth ecosystems, investment in incentives, supply chains optimization, free trade zones, and service providers, among others. So Costa Rica was, because this kind of policy was categorized what the leader country in foreign investment attraction companies. We were #1 in the world over China inclusive, taking account the size of Costa Rica and the potential it has. So the sectors we are more involved and we are pushing up are the digital technologies, creative industries, cooperate and business process, also smart manufacturing, which includes life science and manufacturing, and the health and well-being as a well-being and tourism infrastructure. So in the smart manufacturing, Costa Rica is promoting the life science, like the companies involved in the in technologies applied to the medical devices, pharmaceutical, and blood tech. Manufacturing, we can account in advanced manufacturing, like manufacturing in food and agri-tech. And there is others like digital technologies, creative industries, incorporating business process, well-being, and tourism infrastructure. So that's guaranteed that Costa Rica is creating an image that as a Silicon Valley in Latin America because it's offering all these different ways to introduce not only a way of living, but also the development in technology and at the same time guarantee peace in the world and peace with the environment. So as I mentioned, the human capital is the most important. Companies move to Costa Rica because they can find people well-educated and people with very high standards of knowledge and applications for their own technologies. So this means that if you have a country, a sustainable country, if you had a country which is a stable country, no war conflicts, no social conflicts, if you had a place where they've been called one of the happiest country in the world 3 times in different that international magazine had. If you have a place where you are in contact with the nature, if you have a place that the technologies and the protection of the environment is the most important thing, and we are promised to the world not only to create a more peaceful planet, but also more sustainable planet. If you have a country in which you have the energy is provided for the nature of itself, that's why you have this attraction as a country where you can develop this kind of companies and technologies. Costa Rica has over 50 years experience in federal aviation administration, and that's why Costa Rica has created our aerospace cluster, which is being developed in the last 5 years. And we are looking at universities like this to exchange cooperation, not only with the students, exchange to professors, and all those entrepreneurs who are connected with the university. Our capacities include aerospace parts. We convert planes from passengers to cargo planes. And this is one of the most important developments we have recently. The VXCR is the plasma engine, which can take a rocket to Mars in 39 days, cutting in 3 times the time was used to fly to Mars. And this project is already authorized for NASA in the United States, and now we are in the process to finance the production of this engine, because the prototype is in Costa Rica. And also to guarantee the companies who want to move to Costa Rica to produce this, we have a zone regime. It's a free trade where you can file tax exemptions for the companies and the projects in different areas like manufacturing. And also these are the areas why, as I mentioned, some international companies chooses Costa Rica as a place to invest and produce knowledge and products. Those are the best companies located in these free trade zones. And you see, you can find Amazon, you can find Intel, HP, Bayern, Boston Scientific, and the most recognized companies in the world in technology and medical technology. So if you are more interested in how is the process to establish companies in Costa Rica, or how we see attracting these companies, as I mentioned, Costa Rica is the #1 country in the world attracting technological companies. You can look at this website, which is in English and in Spanish as well, and you can look at this information. You can take a picture, and you can try to find it out in the internet, and you will have mostly what I'm being explaining today to you. Decision Costa Rica is our trademark, a national trademark, and we call it My Choice Network. Thank you very much for your attention, and I stay here to listen to your comments or questions you have. Thank you.
So, any questions?
Okay. Thank you for your presentation.
Name, department, country, and question.
My name is
We will-
Abdulrazak,
yes.
and I was going to ask a little question about how you said your government doesn't have a army, right? What's stopping me from invading and like
International organizations first.
Right.
Our alliances with countries we have seen in Costa Rica, Oasis, and it's a moral thing. It's a moral thing. It's a respect. It's ethical thing, because we have more than 100, 200 years offering to the planet this model, and many countries are there to protect us. And if we have a problem, immediately we go to international organizations. That's what multilateralism is essential in this. Our embassies in Geneva and United Nations in New York and many other countries guarantees us the permanently review our foreign policies and our sovereignty. Of course, we trying to keep peace for every country. And if we have a problem, we have regional organizations like SICA countries or American state organizations, would include Canada and United States, to guarantee that if we have a problem with a country or a neighbor country or any foreign country which tries to create or to touch our sovereignty, we can call immediately to these organizations. And also, we believe the International Court of Justice or Human Rights Court, which is in Costa Rica, guarantee also the respect of the human being. And there is something more important is sustainability includes everyone. We don't want to leave no one behind. Women, indigenous people, everybody is welcome. And because you don't have democracy or development if you don't have human rights.
So you're saying you have military ties, right? You have military ties with other countries?
No, we don't have military ties. No, okay. Not at all.
So it's more of a ethical kind of thing, where you expect the other person not to invade.
We call to these organizations immediately to stop the invasion because United Nations can act by the Security Council. So we present the case every time if we have a problem. We had one in 2011, as I mentioned. We immediately went to the American state organizations. We tried to obtain the approval of the other countries. We couldn't because 2 or 3 countries trying to had alliances with the other country invaders. So we closed that chapter and then allow us to go to United Nations. And then we choose to go to International Court of Justice, and the Court of Justice guarantee. And immediately had ruled that the country who invade us must leave the country immediately under the pressure of the Security Council.
What if the country that's invading is not like recognizing UN or any of that? Say, for example, if you have like somebody like Russia or something invades, like
why Russia wants to invade us? I don't know.
Hypothetically, like if there was somebody that really didn't care about the UN or what they think, like is there like steps in place like to stop that from happening?
Well, it's difficult to talk about hypothetical cases because does not exist. And that's remember me at a joke, and I'm not making a joke what you're saying because what you're saying is very serious. But in the hypothetical case that we be invaded, depends who is inviting us. Because first of all, we have signed a treaty which is nuclear weapons are banned in all America, Latin America at least. And we have alliances for the countries we are in the American organization, would include Canada and the United States, but also we have alliances with Europe. So we hope not, because there's nothing is written in stone, but we think that in that case, we will call immediately to international community to intervene, as been happening the recent problem close by that you know where.
We hope that you will protect peace every time.
All the time.
Yes.
Even when we have this invasion, there were people in sectors in our country saying that, no, we need to install again back the army. But they will buy less than 2% of the population, things like that, because have been cost us 75 years. I have 58 years old. I'm gonna reach my 60s very soon.
Yes.
And I've never seen a soldier in my country.
You look younger than your
Thank
age.
you. Because it's pura vida, which is the concept of Costa Rica, pure life. You live in an environment where you have peaceful, happy, you have the nature, and you have to think wisely, keep you a little bit younger. But the point is, yeah, we try to commit, and I'll say it, I'm almost 60 years old, and never saw in my country a tank or our armored air forces. Actually, we have kind of propaganda, let's say, or let's say the shirts and posters, which is you see a number of birds flying in the sky, and we would call that is our Air Force. And we look at sea and we see the dolphins, because when you go to, if you go to Costa Rica, you can do surfing. During your surfing, you will be with whales and dolphins, and we say this is our marine forces. And our ants and forests are our army.
It's very interesting, actually.
I'll tell you.
after pandemic, we saw dolphins in Marmara Sea, but in your country, every time we can see. It's very interesting. Actually, health sector, in health sector, you are a leader country. In the same time, with free trade zones, you are a really important country. With this way, we saw too many important corporations in your country. Yes. And you are trying to reach 17 sustainable development goals in 2030. Yes. And you interrelated your purposes with these sustainable development goals. Yes. It's great. I would like to ask you a question, actually. In today's almost GDP per capita in your country, almost $15,000 levels. Yes. In 2030, what's your expectation? Which value you would like to reach? What's your opinion?
Well, because we are part of the OECD, we have to keep some standards to be part of this organization. So now we reached the lowest index of economy. So we are projecting to increase it. But this incremental ratio is directly, proportionally directly in the development we can reach. And that's why we are trying to first to cut up. We have two problems to tackle. First problem is we still have problems with the public transportation. And we need for 2030 to convert all the public fleet transportation in a solar or electric, mostly electric. Because our next step is produce hydrogen, green hydrogen. And hydrogen is produced because you have water. And maybe, well, you're a technical university. You can teach me. I am diplomat. I'm a lawyer, so I don't know much about engineering. But I'm quite sure because I went to the university when I was young, and we had experimentation how to dissolve water to obtain oxygen and hydrogen, because those are the two components of the water. That's why this.
You said water is too important for us also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's why the climate change is very delicate. And we want to encourage the countries. Actually, next week or this week, we have a conference with France, because Costa Rica and France will be the leaders trying to push this in every country to be more sustainable, because climate change is very important.
According to Paris Agreement, I think, no carbon emissions.
Yes, but also to minimize the impact on the oceans. We have another initiative that will start next year. We are making the preparation. This peace with the oceans, so peace with the ocean, and we understand that our next frontier is the ocean, because there are many. I mean, the carbonization is not possible if you don't take care of the water. It's the main element. And also, not only the water from the rivers or the rain, but also in the oceans. And there's the next frontier. The food chain security is depending on that. And also the peace in the world is connected with that, because there are many problems in the countries. And we had one problem because we have also an invasion by the sea. They're trying to take our ocean zone, national maritime zone. And we have to go again to the court, international court, to remove the occupation. And we costs a lot of money, but thanks to a big effort, we succeed again against this aggression. In order that the question that this student had asked me. But this is one of we're trying to push our economy in a green economy and sustainable economy, because the most important thing is sustainable. We should, in every company, should have a sustainable department. If you produce shoes, you have to be sure the shoes are being sustainable for everything, for the consumers, for the company who's making, for the environmental around you, because the planet is reaching how much? 80 billion inhabitants. And go to, for instance, a supermarket or this kind of store when you can find everything. The thousands of little products produced by petroleum sources, thousands of different little products. And I look at this supermarket and I ask myself, how one planet can give us this sustainable life? If you go to the store, you can buy shoes, you can buy your suits, but think about the production chain. Think how much we are extracting from the planet to produce. And what is our education and our mentality about sustainability? I want the bigger car, I want the bigger house, I want to fly first class. But these things affect immediately to our planet. If we don't take care about this, we're going to destroy it ourselves. What happened with the dinosaurs? They disappeared because they weren't able to survive in an earth condition. And I tell you something, planet does not need us. We need the planet. We can disappear and the planet will continue.
Just like dinosaurs.
Exactly. Yeah. Don't become a dinosaur.
Any questions?
Yes, actually we have Murat Hocam. There is a student question, but first I want to make a comment about Costa Rica brand. It emphasizes green, being natural, just a comment, but maybe it may emphasize space and technology side of the country as well. You emphasized in your presentation, especially space technologies, plasma technologies. As I understand, I am not talented and experienced in that area, but I think it may be somehow reflected in that brand. That's an idea. And we have got a question from a student from computer engineering department. Yes, sir.
Thanks. My name is Abdel Nasser. I'm from Djibouti. Firstly, I'm thankful we are welcome for you, for the university, for giving us a chance for asking you a question. My question is, what are the business opportunities in Costa Rica so that the world can invest and benefit from Costa Rica? And if there is opportunities, how is the business in Costa Rica works? Thanks a lot.
Sorry. Can you repeat the question slowly, because
okay,
the microphone is not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. What are the business opportunities in Costa Rica?
Business opportunities.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Costa Rica, so that the world can invest in and benefit from Costa Rica. And if there is opportunities,
yes,
how is the business in Costa Rica works?
Yeah. Well, we are more focused in knowledge. We are transforming our universities little by little, because the scam we had let's say in a traditional way, we must to evolve quicker than we realize. Costa Rica is very small and have only 4 national universities, public universities, but there are many private universities which the quality are from good to medium quality. So it is very important what you said in terms that what we're trying to offer is to, well, first the education is most important for us. So the primary education till the 3rd grade and the secondary is free attendance. So then we have polytechnical universities which provide technical students. And then we are jumping now from the more in a technical university. We have 2 technical universities, and those are now connected with the space and space production and aviation. The thing is, if you want to establish a company, you can go to the free trade zones and you can produce this kind of technologies, but you have to fulfill some requirements. What you are producing, you have to produce in sustainable way, and you have to produce with an intelligent way. You cannot be there to produce more industrial chimney productions because that's not what we want. Or in tourism. So if you want to develop a business in Costa Rica, you have to choose which sector you are focused on in order to see what guarantees you have. We are a developed country. We are not rich country. And I tell you why. Because instead to think to have a very wealthy country, we decide to be a humble country. And why? Because we don't exploit the soil or the ground. We don't exploit oil. We don't exploit minery, and we don't exploit gas, because that destroyed what we will have achieved during the last 100 years, which is sustainability. So we prefer to live in a, let's say, and this is a kind of example. I prefer to live in a nice, simple house than in a penthouse, knowing that a penthouse will destroy what we really have. So this is a philosophy. It's the same with tourism. We don't want 10,000 million tourists in Costa Rica because they are going to destroy the beaches you saw and the nature you saw. What we want is to keep a number. We can be sustainable, but we want to increase the nights of the tourist person will stay in Costa Rica. And instead to have 5, 10, 20 million of tourism, we prefer 2 or 3 million, but those who can stay in a country 13, 15 days. And especially came from the countries where people can pay for that. This is one very important thing. But there is another better like that. And is that our aim in ecotourism is if you go to Costa Rica, you have to tell to yourself, especially when you are a certain age, this is a philosophy of life. And I would like to tell others that I found a country like this. And I want to bring my family. And I want to bring my friends to see this, to enjoy this with me. And then I will make this place as a place I can, every time when I visit, I return to my own country with a different spirit. So all this is a concept. So we are in a process. We are not yet finished, but we have reached higher standards in investment production, investment attraction in companies dedicated as sustainable companies. I hope I answered your question. If you want to see which sector, you can visit the webpage I mentioned, and you can choose the companies. You can see the list of the companies. And if you think you have skills, you can apply to this company to work in Costa Rica. They are in the free trade zones, and they are open to receive people all over the world. Actually, we have a very important university we call EARTH, and it's a sustainable worldwide university. They produce agriculture, techno-agriculture, and also sustainable. And also we have another university. The name is University of Peace. Actually, this university is working with Hacettepe University here in Turkey and Ankara University. We have 2 programs with them, with a University of Peace, which is in Costa Rica and is financed by United Nations. So Costa Rica not only thinks students as a technological way, but also in a peaceful way and human rights preservation.
I graduated from Hacettepe University, my undergraduate and PhD also. So it was a big honor.
Yes, we are analyzing the carbonization plan of Costa Rica with Hacettepe University. Actually, we made a presentation last Friday, and it was very successful.
So we have got one more student question, but I want to mention that in YouTube channel we are now followed by some audience in live, and there is a live question from YouTube channel. How can we develop scientific agreements with Costa Rica's universities?
Well, every country has their own highlights. Looking to Turkey, we are planning not only to visit as much as universities we can, because we divide our plans in different ways. For instance, with Ankara University, they have a Latin American Institute. So we work with them in peace projects and also international law for peacemen. And also we have a geopolitical observatory. And also we have this a program for democratization and strength institutions. So because we believe the peace can come from the institution. In my country, the most important things are the institutions. We don't personalize them. So that depends. Also, now we are developing for this year, at the end of this year, and the next year will be completely devoted and to attract the interest of companies who produce technology, and this kind of medicine, technology, airspace technology, and knowledge technology, even call centers, because everything which is connected with technology and does not produce contamination is more than welcome. Actually, we are developing a new chapter with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of my country, and we are calling some different universities in Europe, is to realize that technology, like internet, produces more pollution than the air flights. Much more. They uses a lot of quantity of water. If the same the textile, they produce a lot of waste of water. So we are trying to improve the knowledge about this, and we call it because we don't have because we are a humble country. We are not millionaires. We don't have a lot of money. We have a fiscal, very complicated situation because we don't. The money we receive is from those who are helping us to maintain this kind of thing. External companies, foreign companies, and governments who are supporting us to keep the planet in peace, but also to keep it sustainable. So it's very difficult to earn your life with this kind of support, but we prefer that they have a lot of money and then destroying the country. So our next step with a university like this is to be more connected with the university in terms of MOU agreements with Costa Rican University, especially with the two technological ones, agreements, and also exchange of programs, and also attracting investment for Turkey companies to settle in Costa Rica to produce technology, because we are just in the middle of Americas. We are 2 hours of 30 minutes from Miami Beach, or 2 hours and a half from Los Angeles, United States, where are the biggest market in the world. We cover Latin America, and we have 2 oceans. We have Caribbeans, and also we have exportation to China because we have 2 ports, one in Pacific and other in Atlantic. So we are just in the middle, and we can cover this. So this is the next projection to Turkey, because Turkey is a country which is also playing a very important role now, and have a very technified country. It had a lot of potential. So we are inviting every month. I visit entrepreneurs, different sectors, chambers of commerce, leaders, to tell them you have a possibility. Why? Because the worst enemy between my country and Turkey is the stereotype ideas. Because if you think about Costa Rica, no, it is in a jungle, it's full of monkeys, and then they're all the banana republic. But if you talk about Turkey and my country, they say, well, they speak Arabic, or they are using camels, or is it desert? Is something green there? And this is a big problem. We have to learn with the potential we have, both countries, both nations, and what we can do together.
I agree with you. Another question from another engineering department student.
My name is Yahya Abdul Nasir, and we are thankful for you for giving your time. And my question is, where Costa Rica reached about technology development?
What Costa Rica is the technology?
I'm sorry, could you repeat?
Where Costa Rica reached about technology development? Like achieving.
Reaching out for?
Reaching out for?
Achieving, like.
Achieving technology.
Yes.
Because the free trade zones, because we attract companies who are #1 in technology in the world. So this is a very important question, and I tell you why. Because these companies come to Costa Rica, for instance, Intel. All the microchips and your computer laptop are made by Intel, most of them. And probably a big number of computers, laptop computers or desk computers, the chips have been assembled in Costa Rica because we had an ensemble company or ensemble branch from Intel in Costa Rica. But now they have three plants. And what is the importance of this? Because #1, we export this technology to the world. Secondly, part of this product, according with the free trade zones, must stay in Costa Rica till 10%, something like that. So we can buy directly this technology from them. But the most important thing is the people who are working on those free trade zones are people from my country, people we are hurrying to specialize to sell products, because these companies, they don't produce everything. They produce the main things, or they arm the parts, the wafers or different part of the computer or microsystems. They arm it in this free trade zone. But there is a lot of small national companies, companies from Costa Rica, small ones. The students like you, then when finished, you can work with them because they are receiving people to work inside. And you can work for 2-3 years with them. And after that, you can say, no, I want to make my own company. And you can jump off the free trade zone. You create your own company and you start selling those products to these big companies. So that's what we call a chain production, because part of the you are going to produce for your little small company, you sell it to these big companies, and your company can evolve, and you can make also a contact with another one who produces another part, and you can join together to produce your own product. So you create a chain reaction, which creates more knowledge and more possibilities. And that's why it is important to have this kind of companies in a country, because they asking for a student from my country, that is the young talent, and also this young talent can also produce new companies, small companies, out of the free trade zone parts, because you need a big amount of investment to be in this free trade zone parts, but you create more and more little companies around that. So I know young people like you, we have their own company in Costa Rica, supplying companies like big technology companies. And this is what really is important for my country, because the taxation decreases, and they are giving money for tax in some parts, because they buy some products, the electricity, and many other things. But the most important is the traceability of knowledge they are creating, this cloud around the company who are feeding by our people. And these people will bring more people and create more little companies. After years, we expect to have our own system, our own people working in a very specialized technological sectors. Thank you for your question. Very important.
Any other questions? I have a question, actually. I would like to ask. Last week we had Panama ambassador who was here, and Panama is an important country for the canal,
yes,
which connects Pacific and Atlantic. there's another canal that's being built, which is on the news, which is in Nicaragua by a Chinese. So is there going to be any plans in the future for Costa Rica to build a canal, or if these two canals would affect the business or sustainability in Costa Rica?
Well, the first plan to create a canal was in Nicaragua, historically speaking.
Yes. Now they're Chinese investors doing. We heard.
Yeah. Well, that was a project that Nicaragua had a few years ago, but the project, I understand, is not it's not working because the cost is too high. And also the Panama Canal has been extended, have been widened, and then that permits to take care of mostly the demand. What Costa Rica has afraid a kind of this big investment project is the sustainable impact. Because one of the problems we have when there was this dispute over the seas between Costa Rica and Nicaragua, it was that the incursion tried to move some part of the swamps or wetlands, and this for us this is very delicate because we are part of the wetland convention to protect these wetlands and the biodiversity which is inside. Actually, during our international court of justice trial, one of the first things Costa Rica asked was that this area was prohibited for any other parties, only scientists, because they have to measure the impact of this. So this is very delicate because when you create a canal, you are cutting some of the natures, some of the biodiversity, because the biodiversity, as a scientist, needs a continuous source of alimentation, solar, water, and many other aspects. If you make a project like that, you can impact drastically in that. And we, as I mentioned, we prefer to not to be to affect or to damage the things that we already obtained. What Costa Rica, some projects have been presented, but they are under the studies, I understand, is a channel, but it's a dry channel, which is made by train transportation, because the impact is less. Of course, any country has the sovereignty to create their own projects, but day by day, there is more interest in the impact of the Portugal region, because the planet is one thing. It's one. Okay, there is sovereignty, but also we have to take care, because actually there was problems transportation of radioactive materials, for instance. I remember there was a case in Panama Channel when one big boat wanted to cross the canal with radioactive garbage, let's say, or things that they used to, or the result after the use of in a radioactive nuclear energy production. So there was a big debate about that, because crossing this can damage or can pollute the waters or people around. So this is an issue that every day, every year, most of the international organizations are taking care of, those ONGs and many others. And I mean, we are not against the development, but it has to be sustainable. Thank
you so much.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Is it easy to immigrate to Costa Rica, like for students to look for a job?
One more question.
Instead of them, I will ask this question.
Okay.
Okay. I'm Ahmed from Nigeria.
Hello.
Computer engineer. And please, my question is, you talked more about technology, more especially aerospace technology. And again, you made mention of VXCR plasma, a rocket that is going to take 39 days to Mars.
Yes.
How possible is that? And did you maybe partner with SpaceX, like, since they are the best experienced aerospace company around the world?
Yeah. Well, we are not planning to go to Mars. We are, the main thing is we have discovered a source of energy which is more sustainable, the solid fuel that normally the rockets use to go to outer space. So this project was developed from one Costa Rican American astronaut, Franklin Chan Diaz. Franklin Chan was born in Costa Rica, but he made his degrees in the United States, and he become the one. He is the astronaut which had been out of the space more than any other. He had more missions than any other. So his own investigations, he discovered there will be the possibility to create an alternative energy engine. So he asked for funds to create two laboratories, one in the United States with NASA, and other one in Costa Rica. So he uses a student from Costa Rica and also a student for the United States. And he uses technology and knowledge that the United States and NASA have developed since the space career that the United States has in the 60s. And because we don't have that experience, but we have the young people who want to work, and we have this credibility. So 2 months ago, I think 2 months ago, we received a nice news that the last experimental phases that for prove that this engine is possible have approved by NASA. So next step is to produce, to ensemble this engine and to produce it not in a massive way, because no all people or not all countries are in position to go to space or to Mars, but at least to make it real. And we obtained the authorization from NASA and from Costa Rica authorities. So that what we need now is who is going to finance the engine. We need $200 million to ensemble one first engine, prototype engine, because the proofs are there, the parts have been working, and what we need is to ensemble the engine and put it in a rocket and look at it, all details, the function procedure. So we are in a path to provide to NASA, because it's the one more interested, but probably is open for anyone in the world, to produce a new concept of energy, powered energy to go to our space. So we are now reaching that stage. I hope I answered it.
Thank you. I think you have a question.
Our students, is it easy to find a job for foreign people, or is it easy to immigrate to Costa Rica? Consular question.
Well, consul is there. No, I can tell you, as everywhere in the world, we have requirements to apply. Of course, there are regulations to protect our young force, but we also, at the same time, we protect our force, labor force, but also we are open to bring the most brilliant people that want to work with. So what you need in advance is to have the interest from one university or from a company. And you can apply for a visit first to exchange experience and stay certain amount of time. That's why we're looking to sign agreements with technological universities, because if you have an agreement, one university can invite 2 or 3 other students to Costa Rica to see what we're doing, and then you can assess if it's something that you're doing, very good. You have the capacity to be part of our programs, and then you can start presenting your interests. Of course, there is paperwork to do, process, and also we are very open to the world, but we have to be careful about immigration. First of all, because we are a very small country, but not only for that. It's lately, immigration has become a very delicate issue. And because Costa Rica is in the middle of the continent, we being used as a bridge. So sometimes we have to control, because there are people who want to get into Costa Rica, but they don't want to stay in Costa Rica. They will continue to other places. So we have to work many countries at the same time. We have organizations, multilateral organizations in Latin America and Central America, and also with North America. And we assess from time to time the mobility of this immigration. So they think that can protect Costa Rica, that we have our own immigration policies, but also we have to listen other countries then also are worried because they all this transit. So, but for instance, a university like Earth, like the word in English, Earth, is an international. All the students are from all over the world. And we have 2 or 3 more, the University of Peace, and there are 2 more universities where the students are, the less people you can find there are Costa Ricans. Most of them are from all over the world, from Africa, from Asia. They are more than that.
So with your help, sir, we will be making an MOU with the Costa Rican University, hopefully, and then we can be successful to make our engagement with Costa Rica. Any other questions before we stop? Yes, you have a question.
Okay. Could you help us with that?
Yes.
Microphone is coming. My name is Sadri Abdasis from Somalia, Department of Business Administration. My question is, as a foreign, what does Costa Rica rely on their economics except tourism and agriculture? What are the other main does Costa Rica rely on their economics? Thank you so much.
Well, we have passed by a very interesting process because let's say 25, 30 years ago, our main product was coffee. Actually, we found our republic based in the coffee production, banking, and railroad construction, yes. That was our, as a republic, when we become independent from Spain, those were the main ways to create the wealthy, or the create the conditions to have independent economically, let's say. So the coffee becomes one of the best in the world, versus in the 1820s or something. And but the big revolution came in 1948. And this is a very important question, because in 1948 we have abolished the army. And I want to be clear in one aspect. We are not imposing our model to any other country. We are just telling you what happened in my country. It doesn't have to happen everywhere, but it's like the history of my country. In my country, in 1948, they have a civil war. The civil war took 100 days, and there was around 1,000 people died on this. But the man who won the revolution, Jose Figueres is his name. Well, he's passed already. He won the civil war, but he gave the power to the person who won the elections, because the war was because there was a problem to the party who had the power at that time to give this power to the one who won the elections. And this person came across and made a little revolution. And because the revolution, he won the revolution and he took the power, but he didn't took the power to him. He gave the power for those who won the elections and immediately eliminate the army to try to avoid more problems in that regard. So was it very important, because at the same time, we founded what we call the Second Republic. And the Second Republic was a new constitution, and this constitution was very, very advanced, putting the knowledge and education as a number one. In the 70s, we had another very important revolution, as I mentioned before. There was the national park system. So we create this national park system covering 25% of our total area, land area, and also the ocean, because Costa Rica is bigger in the ocean than in the ground, because we have a big island, Cocos Island. It is a paradise. If you look in YouTube videos about the Cocos Island, is amazing. The flora and fauna, marine flora and fauna. So there was another pillar, and we decided not to. And then we start receiving awards from all over the world, because that's preservation, and because we have this peaceful, let's say, profile. So we in 30 years ago, our main products were more agriculture. There is a writer in the 60s, clever guy, Alvin Toffler. Alvin Toffler was a futurist. And Alvin Toffler wrote a book who calls The Third Wave. And he explained that the planet, the economies in the planet had passed through 3 different waves. The first one was the agricultural wave. It's when the human being developed agriculture and also settlements and start living independently, not chasing, nor collecting, but settle them.
15,000 years ago, almost.
Okay. The second revolution came from industry, and was in England, the industrial revolution, to create the massive production of goods and a band production, massive production, that everything was the same thing. The third revolution is the no chimney in the industry. So you produce no affecting no using chimney pollution, but using your knowledge. And that's the way that we started this 20th century. And according with this production, Costa Rica, look at the first, we were an agriculture country because we depend coffee, bananas, pineapples, beans, rice, and a normal corn, because we are a corn, very food corn oriented. And then we realized that we have because we save the money for the army, we put the money in education. And then that produced well-educated people and then the big companies, like I showed, they say, okay, we can produce but a big company to be established in a country needs some elements. The country has to be stable, because if you have civil wars all the time, if you have problems with the society, you put the money and then you have to live. So you have to offer them a projection for many years, because the investment is very high. So you have to protect that investment, giving them, the investors, the guarantee that your country is very stable. But not only that, also you need a good quality of workers, high standard workers, people, smart people, people educated. So this is another thing, because if you compare the people well trained in the developed countries, the cost is very high. In our countries, because we are small, the cost is less. So you need a certain number of characteristics. So Costa Rica started working especially in these areas, and finally in the 80s, we established an Intel company that changed everything, because it was a message for the companies who want to invest in a safe way, economically speaking. And then was the boom, and then more and more companies are arriving to Costa Rica, and we extended our free trade zones and trying to jump from agriculture to technology, avoiding this second wave, which is industrialization. We have industry, of course, but it's very small. We produce butter, or produce candies, things like that, but because still have a family company. But mostly the investment are in the free trade zones and the ecotourism. Ecotourism, many things, hotels, rental cars, transportation, entertainment. So the question is how we can subsidize it. How is trying to change the model of our economy. And I want to tell you something. Costa Rica is not a perfect country. We are happy, but we have problems. What is the biggest problem we have? We have the problem of narco traffic because we are a bridge, and that is a problem. And we are trying to help the young people not to fall in this problem. So there are many different solutions they are working with and try to find solutions. Or the other problem we have is the gap, the Gini's gap, because the small group of people have more income than the rest of the people. So we need to create something to everybody has the right or the opportunity to have a better life and better income. And education is crucial on that. That's why we try to internalize our universities and try to bring more people on this. Thank you for your question. Very good one.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. More questions? Okay, dear friends, dear students, please check Sustainable Development Goals. Read them. This is really important. When you graduated from this university, you will work for different societies, groups, institutions, but as a representatives of any firms, you have to follow these Sustainable Development Goals by Declarate United Nations. This is really important, okay? Please check them.
If you allow me last words, and because I am in a university, I was in the Netherlands working with the embassy many years, 7 years ago. And I had a project there, but I couldn't finish because I have to, we have to rotate every 4 years. So, but it is something that I tried to achieve, and I found, especially in Groningen University, was very important in the Netherlands. They produce energy from the waste, organic waste. And I tried to find out if there is a sustainable university, and I couldn't find it. There is just one school in Spain that I remember. I made this, 4 years ago. Maybe there is a new one. But if you allow me to make it a recommendations, I think the universities must have a sustainable career. And this sustainability is to be applied for every single activity that you are producing. And the most difficult thing is how you can manage your freedom in a sustainable way. Because I can tell you, your family has to be sustainable nowadays. In the past, you had 20 sons and daughters, probably. And up to date, it's very difficult to have a big family. But we keep the freedom. And the freedom is something very important because it is what really strengthens our responsibility. There is no freedom without responsibility. And this responsibility has to be applied in a sustainable way. And sustainability is a triangle: economic, social, and environment. You have to find the balance. So we would be nice to have sustainable courses or sustainable department to every single profession or activity of the human being has to be analyzed throughout this sustainable point of view. And that will give us a different planet and more responsible people. Thank you very much for the invitation. I really enjoyed it. And thank you for the attention of all of you.
Thank you so much for your great contribution. Thank you.
We have a small gift.
Yes.
For you, Your Honor. Ms. Hasibe, Professor Hasibe. Yeah, it's very sustainable, and if you put it on the wall, it will be sustainable. Thank you. Thank you.
If you want even to have a conversation with me, I'm available.
So anybody has questions about Costa Rica, our ambassador will be present for another 5 minutes. You can ask about anything.